Chainsaw Man's main three characters work really well, and in this video I'll be telling you exactly why that is. Denji, Aki, and Power are definitely a strange collection of individuals that by all accounts should not be able to connect with each other. Aki is a human who hates and hunts devils. Denji is a human who can turn into a devil, and Power is a fiend who hates humans. On paper, this collective shouldn't be able to stand each other at all, and at first, they can't. For the brief amount of time that Denji and Aki live as a duo, Aki finds Denji to be extremely unhygienic and annoying, eating horrendous toast combinations, shouting while in the bathtub, and not cleaning up after himself are all things that Denji does that Aki hates. Similarly, Denji doesn't care for Aki all that much. In their first encounter, Aki punches him, throws a lit cigarette on his chest, and then hawks a fat-ass loogie, all while telling Denji to essentially fuck off. If I was Denji, I wouldn't like this guy either. In fact, when looking at this from an outside point of view, you can see that neither of them are really that great to live with. Aki is extremely reclusive and serious about his work, making it hard to connect with him, and Denji is socially inept and a moron. These two personality types mix about as well as oil and water, and the addition of a new element definitely didn't help with their cohesion initially. The introduction of Power was just a catalyst for more chaos within the already wild household. Somehow the Blood Fiend was even dumber and more rowdy than Denji while containing the stuck-up pretentiousness that Aki had. She thinks herself to be above humans while simultaneously being extremely stupid and gross enough to not flush after taking a dump. Needless to say that Denji especially did not come to like Power or even understand her till the end of the Bat Devil arc. Power also seems to have grown a bit more accustomed to Denji after he saved her and Miaoi from the clutches of the Bat Devil, although I wouldn't say that they are friendly directly after that arc. In fact, Power is completely fine with killing Denji in order to escape the jaws of another devil in the very next one. Despite her treacherous nature, after a bit of time, Denji and Power seem to be able to cohabitate rather peacefully. It's a weird dynamic for sure, and the household is always in chaos, but they are just able to make it work. Thankfully for us, making it work with this group of people is pretty funny. I want to talk about the more heartwarming aspects of this dynamic, and I will later in the video, but first, I really gotta touch on the pure entertainment value that this group brings to the table. Starting with Aki, I gotta say, I feel for him. I really do, because what Power and Denji put this man through is absolutely diabolical. For the longest time, Dumb and Dumber are just big, powerful, scary kids that Aki has to take care of day in and day out. And because these two have so much personality in everything they do, Aki's relatively tame persona being stripped away because he's extremely angry becomes a pretty consistent source of comedy within the world of Chainsaw Man. It's not a wholly unique setup by any means. In fact, the general skeleton of their dynamic is pretty generic, but I would say that it's still good. You see dynamics that somewhat mirror this structure in series like Naruto, Jujutsu Kaisen, Hunter x Hunter, Grand Blue, and plenty of other series. Like, the idiot or group of idiots playing off the otherwise reserved straight man is not some revolutionary idea, and I don't want to portray it as such. However, just like with most things writing, the originality of an idea, or lack thereof in this case, isn't all that important to the quality of said thing. In reality, the execution of the idea is what carries the most weight, and Chainsaw Man's execution of this tried and true idea is solid. Don't go into this series expecting a setup punchline combo that will knock you on your ass and have you uncontrollably laughing, but Power and Denji have unique enough personality traits to frustrate each other and Aki in a way that feels uniquely Chainsaw Man. Group chemistry is a necessity in having a likable core cast of characters, and I can confidently say that Fujimoto handles this pretty well. Even characters that aren't part of the core cast bounce well off of each other, and I think that speaks to his ability to craft entertaining and meaningful dynamics. Now, I mentioned earlier in the video that I wanted to talk a bit about the more emotional aspects of the Chainsaw Man trio. While I think the entry-level appeal of these guys is their funny reactions, what kept me interested all throughout Chainsaw Man Part 1 was the more character-focused, emotional development that was dealt out to everyone involved. Fujimoto's ability to make me care, not just for these characters in isolation, but for them as one group, is not something that should go unspoken. I think it's a pretty impressive feat to pull off, especially when we spend less than 100 chapters developing these characters and bringing them together as one cohesive unit. As I mentioned earlier, on paper, Denji, Aki, and Power don't work. Their personality types simply are not well suited for one another, and due to each other's individual upbringing, they are all completely different maturity level wise. And because of this maturity gap, we see that a hierarchy of responsibility is established pretty wordlessly amongst them. Aki, being the most mature person of the group, is thrust into this weird parental / older sibling figure role, and it seems to be completely by design. Considering her intelligence, it's safe to assume that Makima knew that there was just no way that the likes of Denji and Power would be mature enough to manage on their own, and as a result, she can only ensure their development and safety by entrusting them to someone as dutiful and responsible as Aki. Now, I think a big part of what makes this group so good is the fact that they force each other to develop and change. Aki and Power are major catalysts for Denji's growth. Denji and Aki are fundamental to Power's evolution throughout the series, and Denji and Power force Aki to come out of his shell throughout the course of Chainsaw Man. Without the continuous burden that is caring for Denji and Power, Aki wouldn't have become a character that can let go of his past in order to look towards the future. His distaste towards Denji and Power seems to transform into something resembling a brotherly annoyance with them. If you are an older sibling yourself, this should make quite a bit of sense to you. Unless you got that Sasuke-Itachi dynamic, you don't really hate your younger siblings at all, even when they do shit that makes you want to pull your hair out. There exists this strange middle ground of your relationship that allows you to be annoyed with them constantly while never growing to hate them. It seems to me that Fujimoto wanted to show us a similar dynamic with the Chainsaw Man trio, and this sibling analogy becomes even more potent when you realize that Aki was once an older brother himself, and someone naturally falls into this role of older brother for Denji and Power. When they pull pranks on him, bother him, make a mess, or just generally wreak havoc in his day-to-day life, Aki seems to be less and less bothered as the series progresses, transforming into someone that deeply cares for Denji and Power and is willing to risk everything for them. Much like an older brother, that annoyance never really goes away. Aki isn't completely immune to the antics of Denji and Power. In fact, he gets really angry when they do shit, but he grows accustomed to it, and in spite of it, continues to care for them, just like he did with his younger brother all those years ago. Similarly, Denji and Power embark on their own emotional and social journeys. They take on the younger brother and sister role respectively, but the growth remains all the same. Denji's development within the context of this trio primarily focuses on building meaningful relationships that exist outside of sexual attraction, learning to care about others than himself, learning that what he values and needs is a platonic relationship with good people, learning that friendship is a very important thing to him. Denji is able to slowly evolve and become someone much more respectable. As a result of this, just like Aki, Denji finds himself learning to hate his fellow roommates less and less, and their relationship changes from one that is purely business to a true friendship that they all cherish. Power is no exception to this change. She as well becomes someone that learns to rely on and genuinely care for Denji and Aki. Seeing all of these characters start off as enemies, start off as people that have an almost instinctual hate for each other, slowly evolve into a cohesive group that almost needs each other is something super special, and I genuinely think it is one of the biggest factors of enjoyment within their group. I think that real on-screen growth combined with a chemistry that's funny while also having a coziness to it is really why Chainsaw Man's trio works so well. Fujimoto does an amazing job of allowing us to simultaneously find them entertaining and build a deeply personal connection to each and every one of them. And while this is a very simple thing to do in theory, in execution, you'll realize that it is pretty difficult to get an audience as large as Chainsaw Man's to almost unanimously agree that these three characters work extremely well together within the series. If you enjoyed the video and want to see some other Chainsaw Man content, I recommend you check out this video right here where I talk about Power and why we love her as an individual character. And if you did enjoy this video and want to see more content like it, subscribe and hit the bell so you are notified when I upload. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.